Hi friends, and welcome to another day of science. This week we have been talking all about wood. Remember on Monday we talked about the different types of wood and where wood comes from. Wood always comes from trees. On Tuesday we talked about what happens when wood gets wet. On Wednesday, we talked about how to change wood, and we got to play a fun game with our teachers where we saw how much sawdust we could make using our sandpaper. Today, we will be doing a couple more experiments to learn about where wood comes from, especially particle board and plywood. I want you to think back to earlier this week when we talked about where does wood come from. We talked about how wood comes from trees. The cedar wood always comes from a cedar tree. Basswood always comes from a linden tree. And pine always comes from a pine tree. But what about our other two wood samples? Remember, we also have our particle board sample and our plywood sample. But have you ever heard of a particle board tree? No, me neither. Have you ever heard of a plywood tree? No, me neither. These two types of wood are actually made by people and in factories. So today we are going to do an experiment and we are going to try to make particle board and plywood. So I'm going to go ahead and put these up at the top so we remember we're making these two types. We're going to go ahead and get started with making our particle board first. The two things you need to make particle board are a special type of glue. This isn't just any glue. This is special glue that has special ingredients in it, including cornstarch. Once you have your special mixture, what they do at the factories is they add some sawdust. I'm going to go ahead and find some sawdust and add it to our special mixture. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mess. Awesome. Let's add just a tiny bit more. Perfect. Once that special gluey mixture is added with the sawdust, it gets mixed up really, really well. And we are just going to use our popsicle stick or our mixer to put it in the shape we want. So I'm going to try to make it look as close to our wood sample as I can. It kind of looks like tuna. I'm going to try my best to put it into a rectangle. Cool. Well, I tried my best, and that is how they make particle board. They use sawdust and a special mixture using cornstarch, and they put it out to dry, and when it dries, it is particle board. That is pretty neat. To make plywood, it's a little bit different. To make plywood, what they use is, if we look on the side here, we've talked about this before, it looks like there's a bunch of different layers of wood. And that's exactly what plywood is. It's a lot of layers of different types of wood. So I have some thin pieces of wood I'm going to find. And I'm going to use these to glue them one on top of the other to make plywood. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some glue. I just have normal school glue for this, no special wood glue. And I'm going to add a good amount of glue because I do not want our plywood falling apart. I'm going to put a piece right on top of that glue. I'm going to push, push, push. Oop, looks like I used a little too much. That's okay. Good thing I still have my paper towel close. Alrighty, and I want to line them up really nicely just like our plywood is. Cool. I'm going to add another piece. Use maybe a little less glue this time. Cool. So I tried my best to make plywood. The glue isn't quite dry yet, but if you take a peek, you can notice that there are different layers of wood in my plywood that I made, just like there are different layers of wood in the plywood that we have as a sample. Pretty cool. So, again, particle board does not come from a particle board tree. It's made using sawdust and a special mixture with cornstarch. Plywood also does not come from a plywood tree. That's silly. Plywood is made by using different layers of wood, and they're glued together and pushed together to make plywood. just like what we did down here. We used different wood strips to glue them all together to make our very own plywood. So today, friends, for your science activity, you do not have a page in your journal to complete, but you do have a seesaw activity. Go ahead and go into your seesaw, find this activity, and you're going to sort each one of these pictures into the wood category or the not wood category. Do you think a tree is made out of wood? Yes, we talk about that all the time. So I would click this with my finger and move it under the wood label. What about a door? Is a door made out of wood? It sure could be. I would click this and move it under the wood category. What about a soccer ball? Is a soccer ball wood? No, I don't think so. You would click this and move it to the not wood. Awesome job. Do the rest, and when you're finished, press check, check. It has been so much fun learning with you this week. I cannot wait to see everything that you have learned on your seesaw activity.